Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, normally I don't do this show by myself, but today, well, it's just going to be me. And today is Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
It's Throat Punch Thursday, bitch.
Just something about someone getting kicked or getting hit in the throat. I don't know. Just kind of fun, It reminds me of Bernie Mac when he says, them little kids get in the way, just punch them in the throat. Yeah, just like that. Although he actually did it with an open forehand, kind of an interesting way, as Mike said. Interesting way to begin a conflict. But then again, the first strike, as I've learned in Krav Maga, it's always about the surprise. It's always about stunning them and just incapacitating them, as was done in this particular case. So it's all good, folks. It's all good. We're having a good time. Thank you so much for tuning in on this fine Thursday where, we're continuing to win right here in these United States with the election of President Donald Trump. He's continuing to set new highs for the levels of success that he is having, and also continuing to help the Democrats to set new lows in terms of their behavior when it comes to responding to the successes that he's having. But we're having a good time, so that's what really matters. So let's go ahead and get into the program and start the way we always start, and that's with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. They sell rifle and pistol caliber barrels available at any length. All you got to do is check them out at hitmanindustries.net. If you've bought an AR in the last few years, chances are you already have one of their barrels. So, hey, what's one more? Whether you're looking to do a rebuild, rebuild a current rifle, or maybe you're just looking to do a brand new build from scratch. Check them out today at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. You want to check them out today at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters on the market. That would be Hog Holsters. Just got to go to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Helping Americans wear guns. That's right. Go there today. And all you got to do is then use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there. And you're going to get a discount on us. Check them out today. Once again, hogholsters.com. Then we have got the best in, the place to go if you are looking for tactical gear, if you're looking for outdoor gear, winter gear, summer gear, wet weather gear, whatever you're looking for. If you are a part of a club, if you're a part of an organization, if you're a purchasing agent for either your department or maybe for your unit, you need to go to uscombatgear.com. There you will find all things tactical except the gun, and you will find a huge selection. You will find great prices. You will find phenomenal customer service. Veteran-owned and operated uscombatgear.com. All right, also, almost forgot, I want to make sure to encourage you, if you got nothing going on next weekend, there's an event that you need to be at. If you're in Florida, if you can be near Florida, whatever you're looking for, you need to be in Florida. All right, Florida, you need to be in Summerfield, Florida, at Runaway Campers next Saturday, February 22nd. It is going to be to a Freedom Fest or 2025. There will be speakers from all over the country, gun rights advocates, people in the media, people who deal with legislation, people who deal with litigation, all sorts of folks who will be able to sit there and talk to you and help you to better understand how you can defend your right to keep and bear arms. It's coming up 8 days and 15 hours from now. It will be happening right there. You're going to have folks like Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets, Bearing Arms writer Mr. Tom Knighton, Eric Pratt of Gun Owners of America, myself, Mr. Pilwarski, Amanda Suffolk Levi on the Target Radio, Dan Was, the author of Good Gun, Bad Guys, the book series, Eric Friday from Florida Carry, their general counsel, and frequent visitor to the show, Mr. Patrick Collins of the Gun Food. Folks, everybody's going to be there. And if everybody's going to be there, guess who else needs to be there? That's right. You need to be there. So make sure you guys come on out. If you want to get more information, just go to 2afreedomfest.com. That's 2afreedomfest.com. All right, let's get into today's news stories, and we're going to start with this first one. I will tell you, I first of all, we started this show to talk primarily. We wanted to talk about gun stuff, but we wanted to talk about other stuff. But when you're doing a daily program, it's hard to find good news every day about what's going on, or at least exciting. Maybe that's a better word. Exciting, like leading the story, leading headline news stuff on gun stuff every day. So when I get a chance to do that, I do it. And you might have noticed lately that we've been doing a lot of leading with a lot of Second Amendment stuff. And that's because thanks to President Trump, we've got some really good stuff that's coming out, and really good stuff that's leading the way when it comes to supporting, protecting, when it comes to recognizing our right to keep and bear arms. And this piece right here, coming out of Bearing Arms, bill seeks to end financial industry's discrimination towards gun companies. Now, you might recall dating back to Mr. Obama, former President Obama. They have really sought to pressure financial companies or the financial industry to discriminate against guns, not just gun purchasers, but gun sellers, right? They've done things like try to push them to create secret credit card codes or approval codes or things like that, so that they can weed out and discriminate against those who sell firearms or sell firearm accessories. Well, this is seeking to end all. And by the way, then you also have people in the industry who have refused, because they're trying to help their ESG scoring. They have refused to actually do business with those who sell firearms or firearms accessories. Well, according to Tom Knighton, who, by the way, will be one of the speakers at 2A Freedom Fest, he's basically pointed out here that, it's time for that discrimination to end, and that's what the point of his piece is here. It says here, for a few years there, it seemed we were continuously reporting on some firearm-based business that was rather abruptly informed they lost their bank or some other financial service. There was no warning, no attempt at rectifying any issues, nothing. They were just cut off, sometimes with payments left to process, but items in the mail. While we're not hearing much about it these days, the threat still looms, and it should never happen. What's more, we know that it happened because of government pressure via Operation Choke Point. That's the program from Obama that I was talking about, among other efforts. Now there's a bill seeking to end this once and for all. Here's the piece right here. A U.S. senator from Oklahoma is targeting banks and other financial institutions that discriminate against those in the firearms industry and other groups not considered politically correct enough. Republican Senator Markwyn Mullen, along with Senator Kevin Cramer, Republican of North Dakota, and 39 other Senate Republicans, introduced the Fair Access to Banking Act to ensure that banks and financial institutions offer services based on financial risk rather than political agendas. This legislation specifically penalizes banks and credit unions with total consolidated assets exceeding $10 billion, along with their subsidiaries, if they refuse to conduct business with any legally compliant, creditworthy individual. It also prohibits payment card networks from discriminating against any qualified person based on political or reputational factors. The bill requires qualified banks to provide written justification for any denial of financial services to an individual. Additionally, the act imposes penalties on providers who fail to comply with the law by disqualifying institutions from accessing discount window lending programs, revoking their status as an insured depository institution or credit union, or imposing civil penalty of up to $10,000 for each violations. Quote, banks should not be able to pick and choose winners and losers in the marketplace based on politics, Mullen said in a released statement. This legislation ensures that financial institutions operate fairly and provide services based on risk, not ideology. And that's largely what they've been doing, or what they haven't been doing. You might recall, and we've talked about it before here on the program, there was this model, this investment model that was put together by large investment institutions or venture capital institutions like BlackRock and like Vanguard, and they're pushing this thing called ESG, right? Environmental, social, and government standards. And the idea was the more woke you were, the better your ESG score was. And the better your ESG score was, the more likely they were to invest money or purchase your stock, mainly thus pushing the price of the stock of that particular company up. Now, it didn't add value to the company. It added perceived value because, once again, these folks were more willing to invest in you if you had a higher ESG score. It didn't, but what it also didn't do is it didn't make your company more profitable. More specifically, that was the issue. It didn't make the company more profitable. It just simply artificially increased the value because they were willing to artificially increase the value. Not based on risk, right? Not based on profitability, but based on, but based on politics. Well, what they're saying here is that those companies, in this particular case, financial companies, as they go to assess whether someone is creditworthy, how they vote, what their politics are, whether they are in an industry that is politically correct or not, if it's a legal industry and they are engaged in legal activities, then you should not be able to discriminate against them. Now, we already know that President Trump has already got the Attorney General Bondi. He's already got her going through and rooting out any programs like Operation Choke Point and making sure that that is not happening, right? She's already got him going through and doing all that. But here's the thing. Once President Trump is no longer in office, there's no guarantee that that sort of an effort continues. The next president, should it be a Democrat, can go back and reinstitute things like Operation Choke Point. So the idea here is to just make it illegal to do so. And I think that's the important part. And, my attitude is Democrats ought to be encouraging this as well. Because what if Republicans turned around and said, you know what, we're not going to process credit cards for abortion clinics, right? No more. Nope. So if you are an abortion clinic and you take credit cards for payments, or you want banking, nope, sorry, but we're going to discourage you from being able to finance any payments or get a bank or do any banking because we don't agree with abortions. The left would lose their minds, right? They would absolutely positively lose their minds. So what this does is says no politics, right? The idea is these companies are supposed to be, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, and their shareholders want them to be profitable. Now, the way you do that is by not focusing on the politics of it. So anyway, this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing because I say this for this reason in particular. We're not just talking about a company that is engaged in illegal activities. When you're talking about FFLs, when you're talking about firearms retailers, we're talking about businesses that facilitate the exercising of a constitutional right, right? That's like saying we're going to go after newspapers, right? We're going to discriminate against newspapers that basically facilitate or are supposed to facilitate free speech, right? No, that's not cool. You're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be discriminating against entities that facilitate entities, period, based on politics, let alone those who do so, well, just because they don't like your politics. Anyway, so this is exciting. I'm hoping this bill moves forward. It's going to have a hard time in the Senate because it requires 60 votes for cloture. But once again, I think that Democrats should get behind this as well because I think it protects some of their institutions as well. Once again, as long as you're engaged in a legal business, right? And you are not a financial risk. Of course, if you're engaging in illegal business, that automatically puts you as a financial risk. So I don't see exactly why you would want to do anything. I don't know why you'd want to do business. That's high risk, so I see why you would be able to not do business with them. Anyway, so that's good news. That's coming down the pike. You're going to definitely want to keep an eye on that. We will keep an eye on it for you or with you, but definitely want to make sure your senator knows how you feel about that particular piece of legislation. All right, moving right along. Let's see here. RFK and Gabbard have been confirmed. That's right. So there were three people in particular, or four. There were four people in particular amongst all of Donald Trump's proposed nominees for his cabinet that people thought were going to be tough. Kash Patel was one of them. He flew through. Pete Hegseth got done by the hair of his chinny chin chin, thanks to the vice president, but he is in there and is doing a bang-up job. Two former Democrats, or at least, they're former Democrats. One is currently a Republican, switched to become a Republican. The other is an independent, but they were appointed or nominated by Donald Trump to fill positions, and it appears it doesn't just appear. They have actually now been officially confirmed by the Senate. You've got Tulsi Gabbard and RFK confirmed by the U.S. Senate. It says here, despite opposition from Democrats and skepticism from some Republicans, the U.S. Senate voted Monday to confirm Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence in a 52-48 vote. Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell sided with the Democrats against Gabbard, the only Republican to do so. McConnell is concerned about Gabbard's support of Russian President Vladimir Putin and what he sees as her soft approach to China. The intelligence community has echoed similar concerns, including Gabbard's opposition to regime change in Syria. Gabbard once said of the country's recent deposed dictator, Assad is not the enemy of the United States because Syria does not pose a direct threat to the United States. On Thursday, the Senate voted to confirm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. As Health and Human Services Secretary. The vote also went along party lines 52-48, with McConnell also voting with Democrats against Kennedy. RFK Jr., like Gabbard, set off alarm bells. Ian Bremmer, founder and president of Eurasia Group, says Kennedy's Make America Healthy Again movement is, quote, set to shake up health policy in U.S. Maha, says Bremmer, is a worldview that blends concerns about corporate influence on healthcare and skepticism towards mainstream medicine. Now, I think that actually is a very good description of RFK. I mean, let's just be honest. He has said some things in the past that are questionable, and in some cases, some people believe can be questioned by facts. But I think he's always, though, addressed that with this main point, and that is that we ought to always be questioning. That is science. Science is questioning. In other words, never take anything as a given. There's nothing wrong with questioning, because as we question back and forth, I bring my data facts, you bring your data facts, add data and facts, and we develop a better or greater understanding as we look at those data and facts. And what we find is that as technology and as the science gets better, we learn things. And sometimes we learn that we were wrong, right? Sometimes we learn some things aren't as big of a risk. His whole thing has always been is that we've made it too easy for some of these pharmaceutical companies to just give us anything, to just approve anything, and we don't really question them. We assume that because they are because they're corporations, that they're all good. In some cases, even granting them immunity from being able to be sued if they're wrong, right? We allow them to self-verify, and he's saying, no, we should not be doing that. He also believes, and I happen to agree with him on this, we've spent so much time in recent past focusing on not necessarily being healthy, but coming up with pharmaceutical solutions or remedies to bad health, instead of talking about how do we be healthy. That's what Make America Healthy Again is all about. If you're going to be head of Health and Human Services, then why not talk about good health? You want to know, and I'll just give you an example, and I've given you this example before on this program. We knew that the number one comorbidity with COVID was obesity. We knew that. Everybody knew that. Won't say everybody knew that. We knew that. The data showed that. It was a fact. How much energy and effort did the government go through to try and tell you, eat right, exercise, lose weight? How many? We knew that vitamin D deficiency was a trigger for having significant or serious complications related to COVID. How much did we talk about getting vitamin D? There is so much that we know, that we now know, that they didn't talk about. We knew it then, but we didn't talk about it because they were so focused on a vaccine that a company, Pfizer, was going to make a whole bunch of money off of. That's where all the energy and effort went. And all he's saying is, how about rather than, pharmaceuticals, how about we start talking about and spending some energy and effort on being healthy, on helping people to be more healthy, on helping people to have healthier lifestyles. And that's kind of been a big part of his effort. And I applaud him for that. And I think that's why I believe he will make a good health and human secretary. I think some of the, people are like, oh, well, he's going to get rid of vaccines. No, he's not going to get rid of vaccines. Keep in mind, he works at the pleasure of the president. He can't do nothing the president doesn't let him do. And no, he's not going to get rid of vaccines. He's already said he's not going to get rid of vaccines. People may question him. They may question his science, but I don't think anybody's ever accused him of being a liar. Anyway, so that's a good thing. That's good stuff. That is good stuff to hear. Moving right along, Trump ends Biden's war on gas stoves. Now, this is a war on gas stoves that kind of mirrored California's war on gas stoves. This is the belief, once again, that, if you have a gas stove, you're going to release CO2 into the air. And, when you go and you release all that CO2 into the air, or whatever, carbon dioxide, you're basically, you're going to kill the ozone layer and thus increase global warming. That's right. And by the way, it's not in the case of California, it's not just gas stove. It's gas lawnmowers, it's blowers, it's your, if you have a pellet stove, doesn't want you using those, your fireplace. Yeah, we get penalized in California for using all of those if we're using them during the wrong time of the year. But anyway, Trump is being reported by the Washington Free Beacon. Trump administration formally ends Biden's war on gas stoves. The Consumer Product Safety Commission is formally ending a review that initiated during the Biden administration to assess the potential health risks posed by gas-powered stovetops. In a statement to the Washington Free Beacon, Consumer Product Safety Commission acting chairman Peter Feldman said he considers the matter concluded and emphasized that the federal government should not interfere with consumer choice. Feldman's comments effectively put an end to a years-long process that critics feared would lead to a broad ban on gas stoves. Quote, in electing President Trump, the American people spoke loudly that the United States has no business telling American families how to cook their meals, Feldman told the Free Beacon. I became acting chairman of the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission in January 2025, shortly after President Trump's inauguration, he continued. So long as I have a say in the matter, the CPSC is out of the gas stove banning business. The agency has no plans to advance such a rule. Now, I want to just bring note to one thing. I want you to recognize one thing that he said there. So long as I have a say, meaning this is an executive action, and the next president, the next person in that position can turn around and initiate the very same thing. Now, if we elect a Republican, chances are it won't happen. If we elect a Democrat, there's a good chance it'll happen. Not saying, just saying. That's kind of the way it is. And encouraging you, once again, to encourage the important thing about all of this is that once this happens and it gets positive ratings, as the people hear about this and the poll numbers on it go up, it's then going to be incumbent on legislators to turn around and, that's right, introduce legislation to make it permanent, right? To make it so that, no, we're not doing this. We're not going after things like this. You shouldn't have to do that. I get it. But it's important that we do, because if we don't, then they will turn around, and the power of the executive. And once again, this is power that the executive branch should not have, but it has it because many in the legislative branch, well, let's just say they have refused to do their jobs. They have. They've just flat out refused to do their jobs. I mean, think about it. I mean, let me ask you this. What do you think? Go ahead and comment below. What do you think? Do you think the federal government should be investigating whether or not you get to use your gas stove? How about your charcoal? What if they want to ban your charcoal? What? No? How about how about your fireplace? How would you feel if your government right now said, "Nope, you cannot use your fireplace"? I mean, would you not have a problem with that? Would you have a problem with that? Go ahead and let us know in the comments. I can tell you right now, I would definitely have a problem with it. I have a problem with it because that's what we're dealing with here. And once again, these are unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats who are doing this. And they're all, by the way, they're all whacked out environmentalists, because here in California, well, that's who runs the government here in California. So that's who gets the say, are the whacked out environmentalists. I'm hoping it'll change. I really am. We're praying. We're working really hard with folks like the California Republican Assembly to make it happen, but there's no guarantee. All right, that now brings us to Disney ditching their trigger warnings. That's right. Disney is waking up to the reality that woke doesn't work. It just makes them look stupid. It really does. I'm not saying that they're totally non-woke, but I am saying that they're recognizing that they just maybe have gone too far in a few areas. Once again, this is being reported by The Telegraph over there in the UK. It says Disney ditches trigger warnings in DEI bonfire. Wow, I love that. They call it a bonfire. It says here, Disney has scrapped its trigger warnings for children's cartoons such as DEI, Dumbo, bonfire, diversity, equity and inclusion policies. So in other words, they're basically getting rid of it along with all of their other DEI policies. Now, for example, and this is a great one right here. So you see here, this is from Jungle Book, right? And because you have a couple of, you have a bear and you have an orangutan who are singing and dancing, they're like, oh, this is making fun of black people. I'm sorry, that's a bear and an orangutan. I would not have assumed, even when I saw it, I would not have assumed that they were black people unless, I don't know, you told me they were black, they were supposed to be black people. In other words, here's the thing. Those racists over at Disney, they're the ones who made them black people, who decided to want to let you know, yeah, we're making fun of black people here. So it wasn't intended to be that. But the way people see it now, the way the racists over there see it now, that's exactly what it is. Look, folks, and by the way, what they're now changing it to is this was it is reflective of the time in which it was produced and may be offensive or may offend some. And I agree with that. Some people will get offended, and you have a right to be offended. But here's the thing. You don't have a right to not be offended. You don't. Some people see something that happens and they get offended. The intent is not to offend. The goal of the whole thing was not to offend, but you were offensive nonetheless, right? I'll give you an example. I had someone today, we were commenting and we were talking about something on social media, and the person was commenting on a piece that I had written, and for some reason decided to bring up Christianity. I don't know why, because it was nothing about Christianity in the piece, right? Nothing in there talked about it. We're talking about U.S. aid. I said I wasn't going to call them that anymore. USAID and their funding of various different ideological sideshows that had nothing really to do with American interest or what AID is supposed to be doing, right? I don't know what putting on transgender dance festivals or transgender parades or plays have anything to do with American interests or American values abroad. I have no idea what it has to do with that. Well, he decided to say, well, I believe Christian ideology. I never got Christian ideology. I always believed it was a twisted ideology. And I told him, well, man, that's kind of hateful. I was really kind of mocking him because he was saying that I was hateful because I questioned whether or not that was in America's interest. Well, then he comes back and says, well, I'm not promoting hate. See, it wasn't his intent to say something hateful, but by diminishing or demeaning or demeaning someone else's faith, the predominant faith or the faith of a majority of Americans or the largest number of Americans, yeah, you offended me and you offended Christians who heard it. Now, I agree with him. It wasn't his intent to be offensive, but it was offensive nonetheless. So once again, now what comes down to it is, anyway, all I'll say is this, is I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm glad they're pointing out that it may be offensive because guess what? Times change, right? There were things in the ways in which we talked. I was playing the Maxine Waters episodes from Trump and Sons. It was actually Sanford and Son, and Aunt Esther was actually the person that was. Anyway, all that having been said, as I've watched that show, there are things that are said on that show. There are things that were said on Archie Bunker. There were things that were said on the Jeffersons that you can't say today, that you can't have out there today because it would be seen as sexist or racist or bigoted, and it would be offensive. But that doesn't mean that the intent is to be offensive. It's just that's what it was. We get into this, and I love folks who have a radio show here. It's based out of Sacramento, Armstrong and Getty. They're on all over the country. If you get a chance, you got to listen to them. You can find them on, they're on Spotify. They're on iHeartRadio. You got to listen to them because they're hilarious. But anyway, all that having been said, they talk about this presentism, right? Where we have this belief that we have to judge all of the world by today's standards, right? Like, I'm more moral today because I have a different position than someone did back in the 50s. Well, you know what? They had the morals and the values of that time. I don't agree with them, but I'm not going to condemn them because they had, unless there's something that's just kind of obvious that they should have known. Right? But I have access to more information now than they did. Anyway, all that having been said, I'm not going to get into presentism. And I'm just glad that Disney is finally waking up. They're finally actually awoke. There's a difference between being awake and being woke. And Disney was just woke, and woke is a joke. And if you go woke, you will go broke. And that's just the way that it is. Okay, moving right along. That now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. You go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. People have been kind of losing their minds. People on the left, they're really upset that Trump is willing to sit down and meet with Putin to talk about the end of the war. He's really been focusing on trying to bring about the end of the war there in Ukraine. They've been losing their minds. And this headline here comes to us from our good friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can count on. It says here, Democrats, Republicans, because some Republicans are pissed too, panic as Trump brings world to brink of peace. And he can do it. I mean, think about it. There were no new conflicts started while he was president of the United States last time. Not only that, because thanks to the Abraham Accords, he was the one who came up with the Abraham Accords. Him and his son-in-law, and they got 3 different Muslim nations to recognize the existence of Israel. So, hey, all I know is he seems to be hell bent on world peace, and I'm not going to get in his way. But then again, there are others who are seeking to try and get in his way. And this one also brought to us by the Babylon Bee. It says here, Hamas gets Biden-appointed judge to overturn Trump's order to release hostages. Yeah, I could see them trying to do that. I honestly could. And while we're, on, the topic of faith here, it says here, Pope Francis announces that God agrees with whatever it is Democrats want to do. well, y'all know the ideological bent of this Pope. It is neither, in my opinion, consistent with biblical values, or well, he's a Marxist. I'll just leave it at that, which is kind of interesting because Marxism is pretty anti-religion, but I digress. And then finally, from the world of sports, Jets announced plan to keep losing, but without Aaron Rodgers. Now that's interesting, and I find that one interesting only because it's not really fake. That's not really parody. That's actually real news because the Jets are going to continue to lose, and that they have parted ways with Aaron Rodgers. So it's kind of factual. Anyway. All right, folks, so that brings us to the end of the program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We've got Hitman Industries, the purveyors and sellers of rifle and pistol caliber barrels at any length, available for you at hitmanindustries.net. We got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. And then you've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, you can get all things tactical, except the gun, at uscombatgear.com. That's going to be it for today. It's going to be it. Well, tomorrow we got one more show. One more show left for this week. One more show left for this week. Tomorrow will be Free for All Friday. We'll be looking forward to your comments. In the event that you don't get a chance, go ahead, leave your comments. Let us know what's up. And by the way, if you don't get a chance, if I know I won't get a chance, so if you get a chance, do me a favor, send a few rounds downrange for me. Say what's up. We'll holler at you tomorrow. Peace out.